been tagged to introduce this site. It is within the city of Broken Arrow. It is a wonderful 96-acre undeveloped parcels of land. It's just fairly close to the Bass Pro Shops, about a mile away, and very close to the Highway 51 Corridor Commercial Center. There are a lot of great features on this site. I'm excited to see what some of the design teams come up with. One thing I do want to do is introduce the jury judges for this site. There are 5 of them. So what I would do is introduce them. We do have Dwayne Wilkerson. He is the lead division manager of the Indian Nation Councils of Government. Thank you, Dwayne. Michael Holmes is the director of the Landscape Architecture Program at OSU. We have Karen Milford, the Watershed Planning and Stormwater Planning Division of ODEQ. And we have Craig Thurman, who is the mayor of the city of Broken Arrow. And then the 5th judge is me. They get stuck with me. So some really high-octane judges here, so give them a hand.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Josh Carroll. I'm a project manager at One Architecture here in Tulsa. This is Derek McCall. He's with DRM Design Group, also in Tulsa. And Dave Sanders with Sanders Engineering. And as Megan said, we did the Broken Arrow site. The name of our proposed development is The Link. And sort of our core slogan for The Link is returning nature to the neighborhood and character to the community. And me and Derek are going to tell you how we plan on doing that this evening. And so here's our existing site. On the left, level 2, that area, this is sort of steep in its grades and is primarily undevelopable. Level 2 represents, in the yellow represents residential. Overlaid on the existing site, are the current zoning levels. So level 2 represents residential, level 4 is commercial, orange level 3 is a transition between the two, and then blue will represent institutional programs. And so if you zoom out a little bit and look at the site in its overall context, you can see we're dealing mainly with residential developments, and dispersed pretty infrequently are commercial and institutional developments here and there on the site. So one of the ideas that we had was a green belt, because I mentioned that left side of the site, the west side of the site, is very steep. We were thinking we would keep that natural and have a trail system that runs through that and connects to the broader region. So if a kid lived in one of these dispersed neighborhoods, then he could potentially ride his bike or walk to school. The blue is Country Lane Elementary right there. So the main challenge we had was creating a unique development in Broken Arrow, one that through the use of LID and new urbanist strategies sets a precedent for a dense, more sustainable community. And so what we wanted to do was move away from the dispersed programs and environmental systems that are currently implemented to more of a linked set of programs and environmental systems. And how are we going to do that? First of all, through new urbanism. If you aren't familiar with new urbanism, there's not necessarily anything new about it. It's more about traditional neighborhood development, neighborhoods you see in the old downtowns of Broken Arrow and Tulsa. And you can see formally in the right-hand side of this diagram that traditional neighborhood development focuses on straighter streets, streets that might dead end into destinations, bigger buildings, icons, streets that there's more than one way to get to your destination. There's not a singular route. Versus suburban neighborhoods that dead end into cul-de-sacs. There's usually one route to get to a place. There's collector streets that get bigger as you move outward from the residences, therefore it's less walkable. And so the key concepts of new urbanism are density, proximity, and variety. And how those relate to LID is what we're focusing on. So for density, buildings being closer together. When buildings are closer together, there's more efficient infrastructure. There's less money spent on infrastructure, and therefore we can devote more capital to LID infrastructure. And also, there's more space that we can allot for parks and green areas. And then proximity is different building types near each other, so commutes are lessened. We just have healthier communities overall because there's less dependence on automobiles. And the variety, when we have a variety of people, we have a local workforce. When we have a variety of building types, we have increased property values, and so there's more capital for LID infrastructure. And then here's a little diagram showing the difference between conventional design in terms of stormwater management versus LID design. Stormwater in conventional design is a problem, and it's managed centrally with a retention pond, versus LID design stormwater is a resource which is managed locally.
Even though low impact development is, it includes more than just stormwater. Stormwater is a key element. It's really at the core. And really none of this is rocket science. All you need to know is that LID, it increases the stormwater quality and it decreases the quantity that runs off of the site. So looking at our site, the water generally flows from the west to the east, and the larger arrows on this site represent the major drainage ways, and the smaller arrows represent kind of the secondary drainage ways and sheet flow. And everything flows towards the school on the site. We found that it was really important to maintain the existing drainage ways. For one part was to maintain the existing infiltration that was on the site, and the second part is to maintain the ecology that's on the site as well. Nothing can really do a better job than what's already there. Looking at this diagram, the darker space on the plan shows the green connection that we've created through our master plan. Although this area is all going to be used for stormwater and our low impact development techniques, it's also can be used for pedestrian routes and circulation throughout the site. The area, as Josh mentioned, the area on the left has some steep slopes that are restricting development, and that site really is key to it really could become the Turkey Mountain of Broken Arrow with the trails and the greenway connection that connects to the bigger regional center of Bass Pro. And looking at our site, starting on the north, working to the south, we have a mix of different elements, and the key to new urbanism is really overlapping a mix of those uses so you create a more vibrant community. Starting on the north, we have retail and office space. We thought that a neighborhood grocer, which is a little bit to the south in the darker red, that could be an anchor store for the development in the community. The orange would be retail and office or live-work units, and as we move into the residential component, we would have a mix of lot sizes that could range from townhouse to 1/8-acre lots, 6-acre lots, and quarter-acre lots, and we also have a assisted living unit in there. The central core is a community park and pool area. Again, the mix of the uses overlapping, and that also promotes walkability and a strengthened community. Some of the elements that we looked at and we incorporated in our plan were typical bioswales in the parking lots instead of the raised medians, bioswales in different parts of the commercial development, and also in the residential areas.
Cost of the land that's associated with the state property on the west side of the road, there was obviously a big number there for the developer when they purchased that property. So did you look at the density improvements on the east side to recoup the cost of the land that the developer actually had to pay for that property? Do you know if that balanced out?
Well, when you look at adding all the green space that we worked in, we know that green space increases the property values that you can the amount that you can get per lot and for some of the rents in these areas. So we don't have the exact numbers on if it'll recoup, but by adding those trails and those amenities, it creates such demand that they can sell out quickly, and I believe you can gain a higher price.
Should I give them the mic too? So.
Yeah, or maybe you could step up to the podium.
Okay.
Besides bioswales, what other LED practices are going to use in here?
Some of the elements that we looked at were doing curbless streets. We also looked at using permeable paving and pervious paving throughout the site, especially in the commercial district. Yes, retention under the parking lots, so we could, down the road, the irrigation for a lot of those commercial developments could actually be using the water that's flowing on their site. One slide that I didn't get to was actually the application at the residential scale. And a lot of that is an educational component where the developer and the city really have an opportunity to explain to the homeowners that through the use of some of these some of these cheap low impact development applications, they can save some, not only the environment, but they can save some money.
Pass it down. I've still got a minute.
Was the intention that the bioswales would be used kind of in conjunction with some kind of more typical stormwater detention facilities for the flood control aspect of the site?
Yes, in conjunction with some smaller, though, in scope, and also we've got some a wet facility at the commercial site that would be also used for on-site detention. So basically, we're trying to control stormwater at the source rather than conveying it down to a large pond, taking up a lot of area. Control it at the source with bioswales, and also leaving the excuse me, a lot of the drainage ways intact.
Okay. Hi, my name is Julie Graff, and I'm a landscape architect from Land Plan Consultants.
I'm Lars Ostervold, a civil engineer with CH2M Hill, and as the engineer, the most important part of the design team.
Now, you see, if I let Lars run this thing, he probably would have called it, like, Development A. And I thought, let's name it something else. So here is Green Acres, it's the place to be.
All right, enough of the creativity. Let's move on to goals, Julie. All right, the engineer's goals, what do we have? We want to maximize the number of lots. We want to maximize the number of commercial space for the tax revenue. We want to create really big parking lots, of course, and we want to reduce the stormwater runoff on the quantity side to pre-development conditions.
No, Lars. What we want to do is create this great green space that's got walkability, and people want to live there, and it's new urbanists, and it's this great thing.
Yeah, okay. That's great. Let's move into then talking about the site and bringing us into the watershed. We have the site's located in Broken Arrow, as Jeff said. The best reference point is about a half-mile north of Bass Pro. We're in the Hakey Creek and the Adams Creek watersheds, both impaired watersheds, which of course contribute to the impaired Arkansas River. So we need to look at reducing water quality or improving the water quality as well in the impaired watershed. As we look at the site, we looked at just a minute ago that it flows generally from southwest to northeast, except for the far west side goes to the west. Now, this is laid out because an engineer is driving this train. This is our baseline condition, exactly how I would do it. I've got right angles up here, very straight roads. Okay, it all connects together. It's easy to draw in CAD, as well as in my big box up here in the commercial development. I've got the big box theory. I threw in a Best Buy, I threw in a Reese's. I've got a really big asphalt parking lot that drains to a really big retention pond, which I get to design a really cool weir.
But Lars, what if we do something different than what we always do? What if we looked at this site and we looked at what's there? What if we looked at these drainages and these trees that exist along the drainages? And what if we didn't just flatten the whole thing? So here's our drainages, here's our site. We've got all this forested area. Maybe we just shouldn't touch that. And so what if our first residential pod is this little piece over here, and we make a connection to Elm Place, but then we also make a connection to our mixed use and our retail up above, and then we keep that drainage in between. Then we put in another pod of houses, still with the drainages there, and it's got all these great amenities. It's got this green belt, it's got big park spaces. And then our last pod comes in, it still has these buffers around the outside, and there's a trail system. Everybody can connect to the trail from their backyard. And this is what it looks like. Wouldn't you like to live here?
Seriously?
And then maybe in the commercial pod, instead of your big box thing, you know, with your Best Buy, maybe we build a lifestyle center, which are really popular. But basically what it does is it creates this main street. It's a really nice walkable main street. Maybe you build 2-story in some locations, so you don't have to develop it all over on the west side of Elm Place like some people would. And so you've created this very nice spot, and you've pushed your parking to the outside. Wouldn't you want to shop here?
Maybe. Maybe.
And 860,000 square feet more open space than somebody's design, 2.5 miles of trail, and we preserved the land over on the west side of Elm Place.
Okay, so how are we going to do this? How are you going to incorporate this?
Well, we've already done some LID by just not touching some of it, okay? But then there are also a couple techniques that will have to be maintained. One of them is, what if we took out the curb and gutter and we just let the water flow off of the residential street into a bioswale? Any water that was captured there but still flows through would continue on to a rain garden with beautiful plants and retention capabilities.
And I can add some bioengineered soil to that. I can capture that first flush of rainfall. I can create an outfall, and then I can allow it to infiltrate as it goes through there. And I think if I carry on with that concept, we can even look at the porous pavement ideas of taking some of that normal asphalt, making it porous pavement, and letting it infiltrate again into the groundwater system.
That's right. So let me try this. Okay, in the residential area, let's say we do some new urbanist stuff. We've got some shared driveways to eliminate some pavement. We've also pushed some of the garages to the back so you don't have garages in your front doors. We've created these great green open spaces. All the red are those bioswales on the sides of the road that we talked about, and then maybe the blue are those big rain garden areas. And so now we have no traditional infrastructure, no inlets, no pipes and ponds. We don't have to do as much grading, no curb and gutter, and we get all these great results, one of which is that 79% of the lots are amenity lots, which sell for more because they're in direct sight of a green space or a big park-like feature.
Well, that's fair enough, Julie. Let me try this with the commercial area. First, the most important, hydrology. I've used a distributed LID, got porous pavements, rain gardens, and we could slow the water down by catching it in small areas. We spread the buildings out a little bit, and we've been able to reduce how much retention area we have. In fact, in the corners here are just rain gardens. So if I look at the aesthetic side of it, the open space, I can move buildings around. I can go double-story, 2-story with my buildings and have the same number of square footage. I could allow you to create beautiful planters, which results in, okay, we can reduce the runoff volume out there by the distributed LID. We can add the porous pavement, but we've also got the exact same amount of commercial area, as well as 200,000 square feet of open area. Practicality, what if nobody maintains it?
Okay, Lars, well, we're going to keep it simple. And we're going to only have 3 techniques that actually have to be maintained. Those ones we talked about already, they'll be maintained by HOAs or property owners, so we're not relying at all on individual homeowners on their individual lots to maintain these techniques. And we're going to incorporate some really great landscaping that's well adapted to the location.
And finally, from implementability, Broken Arrow has a great green living document, which we meet all the planning criteria with our development for that document. They may consider incentivizing, encouraging people to use that document to create more green space within Broken Arrow.
So just in case you're not convinced, here it is again in big bold print. Wouldn't you like to live here, Lars?
Absolutely.
When you looked at just the zoning code in the city of Broken Arrow and compared that against some of the land use development patterns that you've identified here, do you have any specific things that you looked at that were big obstacles to be able to develop this?
you covered the zone.
One of the things that I noticed was that it required solid, dense paving. So wherever we recommend permeable paving, I don't think that's really been explored. And so allowing for that, maybe looking into other codes that allow certain percentages of it or give certain criteria for that would be helpful. Everything else with the city of Broken Arrow was right in line with what we were doing. We had 24-foot wide roads, but we're allowed 24 to 26 for residential. We made sure in the commercial that it requires that you have curb and gutter everywhere. So we had curb and gutter, but we did curb cuts. So technically we're not varying there. And actually in Broken Arrow, they've got some details for bar ditches on the side of the road with a flush curb. So really you're allowing for that too, and it even shows how to get it under the driveway. So you already have the details for the bioswale, you just don't know it.
Any other questions?
I just have a simple question. Do you know what percentage stormwater runoff going to reduce compared with the traditional design and the LID design?
We looked at, we broke them into the commercial and the residential area. If you recall, one of the graphs showed that on the volume of runoff, anywhere on the commercial part, anywhere from 24 to 58%, depending on the size of the storm. And we had similar results in the residential, but we looked at the reduction in the residential of the peak flow rates. But still, at least a 25% reduction in both cases, peak and volume on both sides.
Thank you.
All right, and now the reason that we are all here tonight. So we'll start off. The winner in the mixed use Elm Ridge category. First place with a score of 76.2 out of 100 is Team 0101 with Land Plan Consultant CH2M Hill and W Design LLC.